On my show today, we will address a few very critical questions on Kenyan politics and try and give an answer to those questions, which should be very instructive and very informative. Question number 1. Why are Kenyan politicians behaving as if general elections and presidential elections are just around the corner? Why? Because we're in the year 2024. Granted, 2024 is almost over, but the next general elections are scheduled for August 2027. And this behavior we're seeing now is what we usually see in January 2027. But it is happening November 2024. Yeah? Now, in case you're still not with me, let me explain. Okiya Omtatah, Okoiti, has recently announced the formation of a committee, exploratory committee, to prepare his bid for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. And this comes very shortly or hot in the heels of the declaration of a similar move by former Interior CS Fred Matiangi, who has contracted a public relations and image consultancy that has had a very high success rate in successful presidential bids, even when the candidates start out as unlikely winners. And this is happening when there's very heightened activity amongst key political players. And all these moves are suggesting there is a general election around the corner. Tony Gashoka, somebody who understands Kenyan politics and its history very well, has been making some super fascinating tweets suggesting that former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is warming up to the Ruto camp. And he was warning the former president that that is a wrong move, while giving him historical examples. And of course, this kind of warming up is the kind of warming up that suggests there is an election contest just around the corner, not in 2027. So, that is the question. Why are Kenyan politicians, leading figures, behaving as if there's an election around the corner? Bila kizungu mingi, what do they know that the rest of us do not know? Question number 2. We all know how hostile the Kenyan people are towards President William Ruto, and even now Deputy President Kithure Kindiki. We're all aware of that. I mean, if you go onto social media, there is nothing else Kenyans are discussing except to complain and make noise about the Ruto presidency. And of course, this is spilling over to real situations on the ground. In many areas of the mountain, especially areas of the mountain where members of the House of Mumbi reside, it is now dangerous to wear a yellow shirt. Hey, yes, it is extremely deadly to wear a shirt that is the same color as the UDA political party color of yellow. And so the question is, how long can the Ruto regime survive in this kind of environment? Now, please, let's not fool ourselves. Please, let us understand something which is logic. You cannot be a politician and have so much hostility against you and you expect that you will survive. No, it's not possible. You know, it is okay not to understand everything. Yeah, that's perfectly normal. However, it is not okay to be stubborn and to insist and to believe that you understand everything and to make very spirited efforts to push down your false belief down people's throats. That is not acceptable. And the truth is, many of us, mainly because of emotion, do not understand. Many of us have got no idea where we are politically. They just have their favorite way of looking at things, and that's it. You can't remove them from there. And part of the problem stems from pride. Some people are so proud, they do not want to change their position simply because it will dent their pride. Itafanya washuke mti. Yeah, it will make them climb down, and their pride does not allow that to happen. Let me give you a very simple, quick example. You know, if you want to understand politics today, worldwide, you cannot do so without going back to the days of Homa ya Mchina, the year 2020, and immediately after that. There was a very steep learning curve for all of us. And then, very important, as a result of the restrictions, as a result of the suffering of the people, a lot of serious animosity towards governments emerged. The problem is that many of us, I'm afraid too many of us, have refused stubbornly to face head-on the Homa ya Mchina, the factors surrounding it, etc., etc. They do not want to come out and say, I was wrong. They don't want to climb down and confess and admit, I was wrong. But the problem comes when in the analysis they completely ignore those factors that deep down they know are true. Yeah, but they prefer to call them conspiracy theories because they cannot dare climb down. And now we have a very interesting situation, for instance, in the United Kingdom, which you will never understand without what I've just talked about. In the United Kingdom, a new record has been broken. Never before in history have a people reached 100,000 signatures for a cause so quickly. And what causes this? The people of the United Kingdom, the voters, are demanding a general election. And of course, they are going to get exactly that, a general election. And all of it stems from anger against the government. Now in our beloved motherland, there are people who believe that state machinery is everything. Once somebody is president, they will have to serve their full term, and nothing can stop them from serving their full term. And therefore any other stories about an election before 2027 ni stories are jaba. That is what a lot of Kenyans believe. And of course they are deliberately ignoring the unprecedented hatred for the Ruto regime, which is not sustainable. And I want us to start by answering that question without beating about the bush, without floating many theories. I am going to take that question head on and give you a direct answer. Okay? That should be interesting. But very quickly before I do that, please allow me to once again introduce our sponsors for today's show, LemFi. LemFi is of course an app for sending money, a tool that will be very useful to a vast majority in this holiday season. It is easy to use, it has so many advantages, and you can even use my personal code, KUMEKACHA, and you'll be able to get a cashback reward when you do your first transaction. I highly recommend that at the very least, you try it out. Right, let's proceed. Now, according to Alfred Keter, who is a seasoned politician and who should know, President William Ruto was due to attend a church service today in his home county of Uasin Gishu. But then it was cancelled at the 11th hour. Why? Because intelligence reports indicated there would be too much hostility on the ground for this function to happen seamlessly. And I repeat for emphasis, President Ruto's home county of Uasin Gishu. And so, according to Alfred Keter, hurried arrangements were made for him to instead go to another church service in a neighboring county, Kericho. And that's not all. Senior politicians in the county were put to work to go to the ground and visit individual households, give them money, and urge them to attend the service that would be graced by the president, and to, of course, behave themselves. That is what Bwana Keter is telling us. And what Bwana Keter is saying seems to have been confirmed, because a few moments before I came in to make this recording, the president was arriving at a church service, Interdenominational church service in Kericho County. Interdenominational means that you invite the right churches, the friendly churches. Yeah, you focus on those, and then you create one big service, but you have really controlled who is attending, instead of taking the risk of going to one church where you have no idea what will happen. Now, this emphasizes the fact that Ruto has hostility even from his home ground. I don't think that is news for most of us, but I always believe a confirmation and a reconfirmation of information is good, because this is politics. Sometimes things on the ground can change so fast that you're left with egg on your face, and yet you got it right at the beginning. Bottom line, this hostility against the Ruto regime is too much. And therefore, if we were to be true to ourselves, the truth is, it is only a matter of time before we say goodbye to the Ruto regime. And believe it or not, even individuals in Ruto's high table, people who are very close to the president, already know this. I will just give you one example. Ndindi Nyoro, what happened to him? Why did he completely refuse to support the removal of Rigathi Gachagua from the deputy presidency? Remember the impeachment? You see, Bwana Nyoro is a brand new politician, and I believe the issue here is that he would like to remain in politics for a little longer. Okay, and he read the tea leaves, he saw the situation very clearly, and he jumped ship. That should confirm a lot to you who is still doubting. To picture this perfectly, imagine a boxer in a ring who is taking so many heavy punches, one punch after the other after the other. What do you expect is going to happen next? Well, it is very predictable. At some point, those cumulative punches, very heavy ones, will end with one last punch, which really does not need to be as heavy as the previous one. And that boxer will hit the ground. Kwisha maneno. Now the heavy punches being directed at the Ruto regime without ceasing are many. Adani indictment, that was a very heavy punch. The illegal abduction of Ugandan opposition leader Kizza Besigye, that was another heavy punch. Shishashu or whatever you want to call it, the new health scheme, that thing does not work. That is another very heavy punch. And yet the Ruto regime insists it is working. People on the ground are suffering. It is not working. The ill-fated Finance Bill 2024, that was yet another heavy hit. And I can go on and on and on. How much punishment can this boxer in the ring called UDA and the Ruto regime, how much punishment can a boxer take? That is the question. And therefore let me very boldly say that if indeed the Ruto regime survives the year 2024, regulars here will remember I had made a prediction a long time ago when this government looked much more stable, that it would all come to an end before the end of 2024. However, it now seems that this regime may be able to limp very slowly and very painfully into the year 2025. But I am sure the Ruto regime will not finish the year 2025. Indeed, they will not even finish the first 6 months of the year 2025. That is what the facts on the ground are very clearly telling us. So now let's move on to the other question I asked. What is it that these politicians know that the rest of us do not know? Okay? It should be clear and rather obvious that we are very close to a general election. Yeah? Much closer than the year 2027. And it would also seem that William Samoei Ruto will not be a candidate in those elections that we're expecting. Now, I have not forgotten that we do not have an IEBC, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And you cannot have an election, even for a mere MCA, without the IEBC being properly constituted. Okay, I'm aware of that. However, there is something about not having an IEBC just now and an election that all these major politicians know that the rest of us do not know. I don't think I need to remind you that there have been so many unprecedented things that have taken place in our country that really we should now be ready for anything. And I mean anything. Okay? Something else. This warming up of Uhuru to Ruto, which important analysts who cannot be ignored are talking about, may make better sense if we imagine that maybe the motive is to ensure that somebody gets votes from the Rift Valley, in a situation where William Ruto is not a candidate. Time will tell. Let us observe very carefully what is unfolding in our politics. And very shortly, things will become clearer. Things will begin to make more sense. Now, very quickly before I go, please allow me to talk briefly about a problem that some of us are facing. I have done my research and I've realized many people here have that problem. You want to sell off a property, but the problem is, where do you find your potential buyers? Where do you find serious prospects, your potential buyers? Now, for some reason, we have had a lot of success on this channel with people who are selling property, sponsoring our videos. And it is a win-win situation. You support this channel, but then also you solve a problem that may not be very easy to solve. If you fall into this category, you can see details on your screens right now. Please get in touch with me and we see whether we can be able to help you solve your problem. Until next time, This is Chris Kumekucha.